Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Are you craving for that special meal that will entice your taste buds and leave you with lasting, thrilling memories? Look no further. Spice Island Bulenga has got your answer. Natural, fresh and delicious juice, the best meals. Don't miss our daily specials from Monday to Sunday. Pizza Wednesday, Saturday Pizza Bonanza, you buy one and take two. Come dine with us and feel the experience. We are located at Prime Shopping Center in Bulenga, Mitiana Road. For inquiries, call us on 0704111720. Spice Island, we treat your cravings.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Very good evening, our viewers. We thank you again for joining us this evening. It's yet another edition of the Hotline Show here at the Digitalk TV. My name is Abdallah Latif, and we'll be here for the next 2 hours to discuss on a number of issues as they do unfold within Uganda and, of course, on the African continent. We all know that a lot has been happening. Of course, this week it's been sad news for us within the media fraternity after losing one of us, our own colleague, Edward Muhumuza, whom we lost in an accident along Entebbe Express Highway, and we continue to pray for him to rest in peace. Well, a lot has been taking place, a lot has happened. We've had issues to do with homosexuality and so many things of the sort. Well, tonight we need to discuss the role of political parties in strengthening democracy within Africa. You all know that so many times, so many years back, during the fight for colonial power, to get rid of colonial rule within Africa, Africa had dreams. Africa had great leaders, and these great leaders had great aspirations. They had a great vision for Africa. But after so many years of self-rule, with, of course, South Africa and maybe Southern Sudan being the latest, and I think Eritrea, on the African continent to have received their independence, how do we assess the level of democracy on the African continent? And for the times we've been under self-governance, what have we been able to do in regards to democracy? Democracy is not only a name that you talk about democracy, but it's something that brings so many factors together. Democracy goes hand in hand with free and fair elections. Democracy goes with respect for human rights. Democracy goes with so many things. Well, in the studios, I have been joined by political strongholds within the African continent. And I also have a special guest who had to trek a very long distance, a very long journey to come to Uganda and be part of this show. And well, I would like to introduce my guests. I want to start with Mr. Ocho Timothy. Timothy heads the legal department at the People's Progressive Party. Remember, People's Progressive Party is one of the major political players in Uganda with a representation in Parliament, and is part of us. You're most welcome, Bwana Ocho.
Thank you, Tim. I'm most honored to be here.
A pleasure to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, I also have Mr. Billy Nyaku. He is the party president for Party of Action. This is a South African-based political party which is also struggling day and night to take on the leadership in South Africa. You're most welcome, Billy.
Thank you so much, Abdallah.
Well, that's the panel for tonight's show, and we will be sharing quite a lot in regards to democracy and the vision for Africa. As different leaders from your respective political parties, I want to believe that you have very strong aspirations for Africa. You have very strong visions for Africa. I want to start with People's Progressive Party. People's Progressive Party, it has not been so long since you hit the political scene in Uganda. That was after, I think, 2006, when we saw, 2000, when we saw Mzee Jabir Bidandi Sali on the ballot paper.
2011.
2011. Yes, that is the time we welcomed you onto the political scene.
Yes.
I want you to first give us a synopsis, an overview of the current democratic circumstances, the democracy within Uganda. Just paint that picture for us as far as People's Progressive Party is concerned.
Thank you, Abdallah. You actually asked me to start from where we are. I don't know whether it would serve our viewers right for us to start with the current democracy without knowing what happened before.
Or what democracy should be.
What democracy should be.
Okay.
But let me go into your question. Uganda at the current situation is grappling with democracy. And so many times we are asking questions that is democracy working? Or did Africa adopt what they don't know?
Okay.
Maybe another question people ask often, does Africa need to craft its own democracy that works for it? So when you tell me about Uganda's situation, we are caught in a situation where we are told to be practicing democracy, or we are in a democratic country, so to say, in quotes, but then parties, citizens are not allowed to practice democracy if we are to go by the principles of democracy. So we are in a country where political parties are in multi-party dispensation, but political parties are not allowed to go out and mobilize, to say the least. If we are to go. Now, I want to refer you to the most recent presidential election or general elections.
2021.
2021. The rest of the world were looking at Uganda in disbelief, whether we were at war or we were in campaigns. Bullets everywhere, tear gas, people were dying, people were killed, and you know, the military and the police and the security forces were going at unarmed people. And we were told that we are in a democracy. And we went through that kind of mockery in terms of democracy. So if you ask me whether Uganda is a democratic country or practicing democracy, I would say no.
Whose responsibility is it to ensure that there is democracy?
The responsibility lies in the hands of the players. In this case, it is political parties. It is all the political players in the country and the civil society. When I say civil society, I also include, of course, political players. But the entire country needs to sit down and have an honest conversation to know whether our democracy tallies with the rest of the world, or we have crafted our own democracy. So then we also tell the rest of the world that, okay, we are talking about democracy, but for Uganda, ours is this and this and this, not yours. We don't understand yours. So that the world understands us. But for now, they don't understand us. But it is the responsibility of every Ugandan, but more so the lawmakers of this country, to make laws that will allow democracy to flourish. As we speak now, although the POMA, you know, was challenged in court. Yeah. But do we see the security organs respecting the courts? Do we see them responding to what they themselves, decided upon? Police and other security organs still use POMA to stop political rallies. Okay? So I think we need to have a very honest conversation as a country.
Well, thank you so much, Bwana Ocho. Like earlier on, I told you Mr. Ocho is the legal secretary at the People's Progressive Party. Well, I want to bring in Billy. Billy is a leader of a political party in South Africa. It's called Party of Action. Party of Action is going to participate in general elections of South Africa. That is early next year. And that will be their very, very first participation in elections of that nature. Well, South Africa, when we talk about democracy, democracy is not only about elections, but the kind of rules, you know, that facilitate the process of maybe free elections, the rule of law in the country. And for South Africa's case, we've seen presidents come into play, and they're being challenged by their own laws. You know, we witnessed that during Thabo Mbeki's time. When Thabo Mbeki came, there were many charges against him until he had to step aside. And then I remember also he had a fight with Zuma.
Jacob Zuma.
Yes, when Thabo Mbeki was the president, when Zuma was trying to shake his leadership, so that he also gets into there. And Zuma didn't know that when he gets there, the same thing is also going to bring him down. When he also entered into the State House, the same thing, he was also brought down the same way Thabo Mbeki was brought down. We are now witnessing the same thing happening to Cyril Ramaphosa. So I am shocked, I am even worried that next time when I see Billy Nyaku in State House, the same thing is going to happen to pull you down also. Is that the democracy you said for South Africa?
Yeah, I think in that case is the case of factionalism within the ruling party, ANC. But before I start off the conversation, I think I must send heartfelt condolences to the family of David Mahumusa,
Edward
Mahumusa, who tragically passed on in a car accident.
Yeah.
Obviously, media fraternity is shocked, and the family should just stay strong. It happens to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to the topic.
Yes.
It's a case of factions within the ruling party, because people are hungry for power. It does happen. But the fact of the matter is, we do have some institutions that are put to task by different political parties to exercise their powers if the leaders are implicated in corrupt activities.
So for that case, the factions, those are within the ruling party.
Yes.
They are very hungry for power within the ruling system. And again, when you cross over to the other political parties on the opposition, it is also the same thing happening.
It's happening rarely. Remember, when you are in power, you are on the spotlight. So everybody wants to shine on the spotlight. So in this case, you must understand that there is political interference in state institutions that are used to hold the leaders accountable. So the history of ANC or the ruling party informs us that there's been toxic factions within the party itself. So you find that you are in power, others are embracing capitalism, others are embracing black power. It is called a radical economic transformation. So these are two factions.
Okay.
When Zuma was in power, when Thabo Mbeki was in power, citizens used to accuse him, actually not citizens of the country as a whole.
The factions within.
Yeah, factions within, or members of some members of the ruling party accused him of being pro-white, because white people...
He connived with the court to slap some charges against Zuma.
Yes.
But again, later on, it was realized that indeed the man is corrupt.
Yeah. He will employ white people in state institutions. And whereas in Zuma's case, he was accused of using the Gupta family to advance his cause. So apparently what people believe that Jacob Zuma was taking them away from power. But if I have to be above board, democratic dispensation is palpable everywhere across the country because we do have a voice. I mean, all political parties are at liberty to protest against whatever issue that is not sitting well with them. So I can say democracy, I mean, that is one of the fruits of democracy.
In your country?
In a country. So people are not getting arrested when they do protest. But we know that every political party has got a responsibility to observe the laws of the country when they embark on any protest. So we have seen across some African countries, you embark on a protest, you get arrested, you get jailed. So I can safely say we do at some stage, at some point, enjoy democratic dispensation.
In that regard?
Yeah, in that regard.
Now,
but the factionalism within the ruling party is putting a strain on citizens. Because when a ruling party is fighting amongst itself, the citizens are not getting
the
services or highest quality basic services.
Well, now, basing on that same thing, now party of action. Why part of action? What are the critical challenges, the critical issues that POA is coming to address in South Africa? And why should actually South Africans trust POA?
Most of the leaders of Party of Action come from disadvantaged background. We mostly come from rural areas. And as I'm speaking to you now, where I'm seated, there are no services. It's only now that power came into the picture. The roads are being tarred, the bridges are being constructed in such disadvantaged areas. So most political parties in South Africa are focusing on urban areas. You go to rural areas, there are no campaigns. The parties do make their presence felt a few days before elections. So that is where we are currently focusing, because one of our main objectives is to eradicate poverty in all its forms. And we are trying in every possible way, to the best of our abilities as a party, as party leaders, sorry, to uplift the quality of life of the poor.
And how is that being done?
I mean, we are aiming to achieve human dignity, equality, and self-reliance. I'm telling you about human dignity because when you go to such areas, you realize that South Africa is not actually the true reflection of what you see on the screen, because everybody in South Africa, I mean, everybody outside the borders of South Africa thinks all is well in South Africa. I'm telling you today that over 70% of young people are unemployed. There is highest youth unemployment rate in the whole world. That is South Africa. So South Africa has a serious challenge, of advancement of the interest of the interest of the citizens. Because in fighting of the ruling party, there are parties that are funded by the same people. It's highly impossible. You can't have a ruling party, a second, official opposition party, or third biggest political party in South Africa funded by the same faces. How possible is that? You vote this one thinking that you are voting for change. The very same people who are operating behind closed doors, controlling the same parties. It's like you are handing over your vote to them. So one of the biggest challenge in South Africa as young political parties is lack of funding, and you must fight for your access to media. Because, like I said, same faces are funding political organizations, and the same faces are controlling media houses. They look at you, which party do you come from? I'm from POA. You are likely not to be covered, because you'll be saying something that is different, or something that is not appearing on the mandate that is given to media houses. There is high level of hypocrisy in South Africa. It is not all bed of roses.
And how are you maneuvering like a political party young as POA? How are you beating up the odds to survive?
We are young, we are radical, and we are militant. This is why we have occupied the headquarters of South African Broadcasting Corporation, National Broadcaster, because National Broadcaster was not giving us media coverage, even if we have staged big events. It's only now that they are giving us attention, but they could not, under any circumstances, give us media coverage. So we had to fight for media space. Some journalists are in the pockets of politicians. When you come with a different strategy to amass votes, the journalists who are in the pockets of such politicians will never come to your event. They will call you. We hear that you are staging event on this particular day. Yes. Okay, we'll be there. We'll cover the event. Come the day of the event, they are nowhere to be found. Yeah, they don't show up at all. So it's part of the struggle that we are having in the country. But we are a young party that is driven by the love for the community that is underprivileged.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Nyaku Billy. I want to come back to Mr. Ocho. Many people who have seated in that same seat, they always tell us the political environment does not favor us to do our political activities. Now, unlike in South Africa, their main problem is media. And for you here, you have the media, and you complain of the space to do whatever activities you want to do. And I want to pose the same question. How are you navigating through? Initially, People's Progressive Party, you were not represented in Parliament. Currently, you have a representative in Parliament. What magic did you apply?
Thank you again. Sometimes in the face of adversity, the doors of opportunities also open. I think PPP is one of those political parties that has managed to live through the hardships. Because we sat down as a party and said, we are not going to cry, you know. When someone is oppressing you, they want to see you feeling pain. But we said as a party, we are not going to cry. And also maybe, Tiff, before I even go further to tell you what we did or what we are still doing, maybe you need to know PPP's approach. You know, PPP is founded on principles of peace and non-confrontation. So oftentimes when things happen in this country, we do not go up in the arms. From our founding father, Mzee Vidansali. Mzee Vidansali often wrote to President Museveni on matters that he doesn't agree and spelling out the position of the party. So to answer you how we managed to sail through, as a party we sat down and agreed what victory meant for us, you know. As much as other parties celebrate victory when they win 200 MPs, for us, victory meant going to parliament. And so we worked towards going to parliament. We mobilized our little resources and said we are not going to scatter ourselves all over the country because we cannot. The resources are meager. So what we do is to gauge the strength of our members who are contesting and therefore zero down on a few of them. And if I should tell you, in the previous elections, we only zeroed down on 3 members of parliament. Lucky enough, we got 1. But how we do our things is that, for example, if we are going to mobilize in Padere, where I love talking about Padre because Padre gave us the first member of parliament. There is a tendency of political parties in this country when they are going to do something and they know they will be stopped. They announce and they even threaten those who are going to stop them. I know it is wrong for the state to stop activities of political parties. But when you do the same thing today, they stop you, tomorrow they stop you, then why do you announce? So PPP does not announce when we are going to meet our members in the grassroots. When we are going to form our structures, we don't announce.
We've had cases from other political players.
You will miss this, let me tell you. Other people would say that by PPP's approach, we are missing visibility. But we are going clandestine and forming structures. But just know the structures give us victory. So I want to believe in our approach, but also to say that it shouldn't be like that, because we should operate freely as political parties in this country. But for now, that is our technique as PPP.
Okay, yes. Well, what I wanted to ask, we've seen many other players and other actors. Like when they reach on, in whatever destination they go, they choose to go. When they reach there, we have how are they called? These head of security, RDCs, the DSOs, the PSO, the whatever, those, you know, they keep on dispatching, you know, and trying to chase away the members. Do you ever experience that, or because you were built on from the foundation of peace, you always engage them and have issues resolved then?
Okay, what we have always done is that when the law is into force, even if you don't agree with it, you comply while fighting. So for us, what we do is basically also to write police like they demand, and also inform them of what we are going to do. I should say that we haven't experienced security forces trying to stop our meetings. Maybe because also they are also just rural based. We don't go to towns and book hotels. We just go to where people are, meet them where they are. But I must also condemn in the strongest terms possible the other parties that are, the state operatives that stop the works of other political parties. I don't want to take an unfair advantage over other political parties. No, because if all of us love Uganda as our country, then I want to think that all political parties are working towards making Uganda better. Then why should we stop ideas from flourishing? Because the idea of multipartyism is to allow the best idea to carry the day. But in Uganda, there is no room to allow ideas to sail through. So as much as PPP is going quiet, which is also not what we want to do, we would love a country where we go out and talk to people freely, you know. So I condemn and I continue to ask the government to free space for political parties.
Thank you so much. I want to go back to Billy. You've been in Uganda for over a week. Could you share with us how your journey has been?
The journey
in Uganda for the time you've been here. Because I know you've been on a political journey.
Yes.
If you were the president of South Africa, they would say the president of POA is out on state visit. Yes, so could you share a brief with us?
I've been treated like a real president ever since I came here.
Oh, yes, yes.
And PPP has been very supportive. They've been great host till now. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, of course, but if I have to be fair to you, I'm enjoying my stay with my fellow leaders. And there is something that we do not have in South Africa. National Consultative Forum. It's more like we have met all political parties in the country through National Consultative Forum. When we had a meeting with the forum, I mean, all representatives of political parties were there, and we've engaged very well. They did demonstrate unwavering support to us, and they wished us good luck because we are contesting elections for the first time, general elections for the first time next year, 2024. And humanity is expressed by almost everyone. Obviously, there could be some problems here and there because no nation is perfect. But ever since we came here, we've been enjoying social engagement with the locals and political engagement with different political parties.
Maybe just to help to guide our viewers, what was your purpose of coming to Uganda?
Uganda is very rich in history. There is nothing sinister about our visit here, but the fact of the matter is we used to read a lot about Ugandan politics back home when we were growing up. So I was like, I'm the leader of this organization called POA. I must be on a political study tour to learn more and more and more.
Political study?
Yeah, political study. So we've been learning a lot from all political parties that we had engagement with. For instance, PPP, JEMA, UPC. We had physical interaction. We had more time, unlike when we were with National Consultative Forum. We were just speaking to every political party there, but like engagement, physical engagement for more hours actually helped us a lot. I can give an example about PPP. I mean, they've tried on numerous occasions to attain a seat in parliament. They couldn't, but eventually they got one. That is motivating us because we do not want to have a situation whereby we go to the winners only. So this is a motivation on its own. Like JEMA has only one seat, and they have been trying on multiple occasions to have a representation in parliament, and they did that, and they have one seat. So these are the people that are actually giving us courage. We used to read about these things. Now we are here. We are getting it from the horse's mouth. I can give another example about UPC, Uganda People's Congress. They've been in power on 2 occasions, and they've been toppled. I mean, the question that we posed to them, where did you get it wrong? I mean, you were in power, you were overthrown. Again, you assume power, you were overthrown. So you could see that we have learned so much. When we get back to South Africa, we'll be having experience. When you are in power, do not sleep. Don't just go to another country and think that when you come back, all will be okay. And I mean, Africa has been experiencing coup attempts many times. I mean, we've got 54 countries, and 45 countries experienced coup attempt. And in the last 3 years, we have witnessed military figures carrying takeovers in Mali, in Guinea, in Sudan, in Gambia. So democracy is threatened because if you are in power, and you must not sleep, because military figures at some point, if I have to be above board, they think they can do anything with impunity. They think they are above the law. But we need to comprehensively analyze democracy in Africa, because since 1950, Africa has been experiencing coup d'etats at all times. So I think from 1980s, so the trend has been on the downward spiral. Now it's more like it is getting to be on the rise again. We should be very careful as Africans, because we need to have something like National Consultative Forum in every African country, like the Uganda has, because there is a perfect relationship between opposition parties. And I was happy when I was listening to some of, some of the representatives of different political parties under the umbrella of National Consultative Forum. They were saying we need to engage the government on important issues that that could be a concern to the citizens. We do not want what is happening in Ghana to happen in Uganda. Remember, whenever there are protests, economy suffers, and the needy are thrown in the bottomless pit. So what I've learned about National Consultative Forum is that there is a good relationship amongst them. They talk very well. Though they have different ideologies, but they can meet and engage on important issues of the state. So in South Africa, we do not have that. Okay. You will have EFF blaming DA all the time. They are on the opposition benches, but they are eating each other. When they are eating each other, the ruling party is thriving. Even if the ruling party has got serious problems, it does not feel threatened. You know why it doesn't feel threatened? It's because you are fighting amongst yourselves. It's like when two, I don't know what they call it. They say when two elephants are fighting, then the grass suffers. Now, all these political parties in the country, because they've got, I'm talking about the political parties that have representation in parliament, they are fighting amongst each other because we do not have National Consultative Forum. When they are fighting amongst each other, what about those who are represented? What about the voters? Because the voters put them in parliament. So now their major focus is to be the best opposition party. The ruling parties are shaken, the voters are left high and dry.
Well, Billy, we need to talk about the xenophobia in South Africa before we go for a break. You know, South Africa has proved to be on the lead in that line. There is a time, actually, we were worried for us who have some relatives and some friends in South Africa, you know, when they could attack each and everyone who was not a national of South Africa. And we are worried of this kind of, we are worried of a country of that nature. You know, when you see that Africans now are fighting fellow Africans, it is similar to what you're telling us, that EFF being at loggerheads with Democratic Alliance. As POA, in your agenda, do you have anything to do with creating a uniform Africa? It may not be uniform, but creating one Africa for all Africans. And in that, South Africa should be home to every other African, just like Uganda is home to every other African.
Yes. Yeah, I do not want to utter a reckless statement like what other politicians are uttering back home. So we need to be showing, actually we need to show the love for our countries. You are Ugandan before you become anybody in Africa. So the laws of this country should still apply. If you are a politician and say, do not respect the borders, find anything that could be of assistance to come into the country, we still have a problem of poverty. We still have the problem of unemployment. But as a politician, you cannot say, just come from all the angles into the country. That is a reckless statement. So we need to fix our countries. Then after that, we say it is the right time to bring down the borders. So there are challenges in Uganda, of course, and there are challenges in South Africa, actually in any other countries. Imagine a situation whereby we do away with borders with immediate effect. There will be chaos in Africa. So if we get it right in Uganda, we get it right in South Africa, we get it right in Kenya, we get it right in Egypt, then we bend down the borders, because now we got it right. We are no longer getting worried about colonial political system. This system is enslaving us.
Is it a problem of the borders, or it is a problem of how we feel towards one another?
I would say I was in Sierra Leone in 2015. I was part of South African health team that was fighting Ebola. I went there because of love of Africa. And when I got there, I experienced so much love that I could not experience in South Africa. So I learned one thing: go and make friends with other Africans. Because when you are in your own country and rooted, you are missing out a lot. People are showing love out there. This is why some people feel indignant when they see fellow Africans coming into their country. I was not drunk when I joined politics. I joined politics to help my country and to help Africa eventually. This is why today I'm here, to learn more about my fellow Africans. How do you get it right? Through National Consultative Forum. Then when I get there, I'll be like, I've learned this in Uganda, why can't we? Like I was telling them about the proportional representation system that is happening in South Africa, and they have flagged it here. Leader of opposition even said it to journalists that South Africa has a best political system in the name of proportional representation system. So xenophobic attacks should not exist in any African country. We must love one another, and we must understand that when we are fighting as political parties, these people who happen to be our voters are suffering. When we are elected to office, we must focus entirely on advancement of the interest of these citizens. Why? Because if I do not govern well in this country, my people will leave the country and go elsewhere. And when they get there, they may not get the same privilege as citizens of that country. So, under any circumstances, xenophobic attacks should not be encouraged. They should be condemned in every angle.
Well, thank you so much, Billy. Before I think we will need to go for a very short break, and then when we return, I'll have to start with Mr. Ocho, and then you share with us the ideology of PPP, why PPP and not, among the other 25 political parties. Uganda is a country with 26 registered political parties. And so you'll be telling us why People's Progressive Party. Let's go for a very short break. And of course, when we return, the Hotline Show will continue.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Are you craving for that special meal that will entice your taste buds and leave you with lasting, thrilling memories? Look no further. Spice Island Bulenga has got your answer. Natural, fresh and delicious juice, the best meals. Don't miss our daily specials from Monday to Sunday. Pizza Wednesday, Saturday Pizza Bonanza, you buy one and take two. Come dine with us and feel the experience. We are located at Prime Shopping Center in Bulenga, Mitiana Road. For inquiries, call us on 0704111720. Spice Island, we treat your cravings.
Kaseera kakulya waliwo ekifo e Bulenga awo ku Prime Shopping Mall Restaurant eyitibwa Spice Island Bulenga. Bagabula ekyennyanja ky'otalyerabira. Goat's meat balina offers buli lunaku eza burgers, sandwiches, pizza byonna ogula kimu ne bakwongeza ekyokubiri. Ate omwezi guno gwa Ramadhan bakutegekedde futaali erimu buli kimu ate ku bbeeyi eya wansi ddala. Jangu oloze ku kyenjawulo. Okukola order n'okubikuleetera kuba ku ssimu 0704 11 17 musanvu 2 Spice Island Bulenga. We treat your cravings.
The alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome back from that short break, and now the hotline show continues. Well, we need to start with Mr. Ocho, Timothy, to share with us the agenda of the People's Progressive Party. Just like you said, the way you do your things, you don't care whether your people are seeing what you're doing. All you mind about results. Now, we need to know why PPP? What is so special about People's Progressive Party? What is so unique? One would expect that maybe Mr. Ocho should be part of maybe the Democratic Party, maybe should be part of Justice Forum, maybe you should be part of the Alliance for National anyway, that is a new kid on the block. Maybe UPC, but why? What is so special about People's Progressive Party of Uganda?
Thank you again, Tiff. Before our viewers appreciate why of all political parties I went to People's Progressive Party. For the record, I joined People's Progressive Party in 2015. You know, we must also understand our history as a country. As a growing young man, I sat and looked at all political parties and looked at myself growing in a country that has not seen a peaceful transfer of power. And then went on to look at each and every political party and what they profess and what their attitude towards one another. And then went on to read about what PPP stands for, that PPP stands for peace, that PPP stands for non-confrontation, and that they see every problem of this country should be solved through dialogue. Okay? Because I am glad you've hosted someone from South Africa. ANC in South Africa tried, you know, using radical means. They tried the military wing. They tried all they could to fight the apartheid regime in South Africa. But ultimately, they came to an understanding that dialogue would give them the answer to what they are looking for. And therefore, I am a member of a party that believes that as a country, we need to dialogue.
With who?
With everyone who's aggrieved in this country.
Okay.
If I can tell you that you can sit there and listen to people threaten Museveni, but the man continues to say, okay, if you are threatening me, even if we are so mad at the Museveni regime now, we need to understand them and we need to talk to them and we need to assure them that we are not going to be vindictive when they leave power.
We've had, just a moment, we've had many attempts of a dialogue or dialogues in this country. You remember one which was spearheaded by the Elders Forum,
yeah,
which had Museum Ogora something,
yes,
Justice Ogora.
And the Interreligious Council.
Good.
Yes.
And, you know, it met a very natural death till now. And this is the time maybe would have been saying the experts of dialogue coming at play, you know, to make sure that things prevail as they are supposed to be. And eventually we didn't see you on the board. So, and then there is also one crisis here, that for those who want to have a dialogue, for instance, with Mr. Museveni, they always have with the outcomes, or they're already set by the other party. Before you come, there is this and this and this and this. And that has always failed all the attempts to have dialogue. How do you intend to do that as PPPP? To engage, for instance, if you have to dialogue with Mr. Museveni, to dialogue on the so many challenges we face as a country.
Thank you, Tiff.
With his record.
Thank you, Tiff. It's amazing. You're talking about things that we have tried 20, 15 years ago. I want to tell you, Jesus or Muhammad were here more than 2,000 years ago. And talking about converting people and taking them to Christianity. But not everyone is converted. Until today, there are still people continuing to convert people and ask them to go back to God and, you know, behave well. We are talking about 20, 15 years. I can tell you, PPP does not want power today because sometimes quick fix can also take you in problems. We believe with our consistency. And we are lucky that the person or the people we want to dialogue with, even if they don't put into practice what we talk about, they have the willingness to dialogue. It is also unfortunate that some people in opposition, and I want to respect their reasons for not accepting to dialogue, the people who should love dialogue most are the ones shying away from dialogue. For us, we are saying, you cannot go to the bush now like President Museveni went to the bush to take him out. It's not possible. We all accepted democracy. We must play by the rules of democracy. We've tried to go to the ballots. You know what happens in the ballot. So, what do? And then PP says, before we sit down as a country and have a very honest conversation, where do we want to take our country? Where are we at the moment? Where have we come from? Then we are not going to move. We are trapped. Every electioneering year, parties and politicians come with new slogans. We are like the NRM government. After 2-3 years, they come with a slogan to purportedly to take people out of poverty. You know those slogans. They are countless. Politicians also come with countless slogans. This time round, it is tsunami. The results are the same. After elections, we come back. If you host politicians before elections, after elections, they come back here and they are crying like abandoned babies. But PPP is saying, okay, look, we need to sit down and talk. This country is ours. We have only one country. Let's understand our country better. Let's know where we want to take this country. And we move on as a country. But I have very high hopes that one day everyone in this country will understand that after they try everything and they don't see the results, everyone will understand if they are meaning well for this country, they will understand that I think all the political players in this country and you know, people of goodwill need to sit down and talk until we know where we started, you know, swaying away from the real things that we need to do as a country. We cannot move. We are in a bondage. We are stuck. So we need to talk as a country.
Your party, People's Progressive Party, is a party that was founded by one individual who was part of the current system, the current government. And of course, we've had this narrative from so many people, they're the same, they're the same. But of course, people reach a time when they're like, no, you fail to agree at, you know, at a certain point and you move away. And my question, ever since Mzee Dandi chose to move away, I was like, no, maybe we need a new force to bring, to take us into the Uganda we need. How far have you been into that? Okay. How far have you gone into that?
Okay, first saying that Mzee Dandi was part of the NRM government and we end there. we may deny our viewers the fact that Mzee Bidansali was a youth winger in UPC, you know. He has practically served in all governments since independence. So we cannot begin saying because he also served in NRM, then we miss out the good things that he has done as a person. If we are to judge him at individual capacity, then he came from UPC. He even served in, you know, in the subsequent governments and then Museveni's government. So Mzee Bidansali, for me, I see him as a person who comes with a wealth of experience. But also maybe I need to inform the viewers that Mzee Bidansali has since retired from PPP, is no longer...
since 2013, I think.
Yes. And also, whilst he was serving in those governments, his records speak for itself.
Yes.
You know?
Let's talk about People's Progressive Party.
Yes.
After that break-off, now Mzee Bidansali believes Uganda needs a new ideology, a new set of ideologies.
Yes.
And so he brings PPP into play.
Yes.
And now it has the young people for him is just watching over. He's not involved. Now, how far have you been into, when it comes to tapping into his ideology for a new Uganda that he aspires to see?
Okay. Tiff, I don't want to come here and talk about how far we've gone or how far we want to go and fail to talk about the challenges political parties go through in this country. Even if I said that we somehow managed to talk to our people, but it also goes back to resourcing political party funding in this country. That for all the time that Mzee Bidansali was there and up to the time he left, before we entered parliament, we were not receiving resources as any other political party. In this country, political parties within the opposition, they like to call it the Premier League and Championship, referring it to the English Premier League, that when people go to parliament, they also ring fence at that level and lock out other people until you struggle to join parliament. Your ideology, however good, they will end at your party offices. So that's the same challenge PPP grappled with until now we go to parliament. I can tell you now our work. I used to tell people at the secretariat that our national engagement in this country starts the day we step parliament. And maybe if you want to judge us now, it's 1 year since we got to parliament. And at that level, we engage with the office of the leader of opposition. We engage with the office of the speaker. Because our approach is that of engaging people, dialoguing. So we oftentimes write. If you asked me now, right now, my acting party chairman, together with the committee, were busy drafting constitutional amendments. I mean, election amendments for the electoral laws in this country, putting in suggestion what we think is best. But I am not going to give credit to PP alone, because that is done under the auspice of National Consultative Forum. So I am telling you now where we play and where we take our ideology and ideas. You know, we go to a National Consultative Forum. We were recently admitted to iPod, where we think we are going to share with them what we think and what we have for this country.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Ocho. Billy comes in again. Billy, you're in South Africa. You're going for elections 2024. Uganda participated in the general elections. They were there in 2021. And just like he said, there's so many things that were characterized within that, you know, with the elections, military intimidations, death, you know, many people were killed, many people, young people lost their lives, arrests. And could you give us a picture of an election cycle in South Africa? We need to understand what you're going for as POA next year.
Yeah, it is like a mountain to climb, actually, to contest for elections, because you need to be observant in many things. A couple of minutes ago, I said to you, the problem starts at media houses. So many journalists are in the pockets of the politicians. That is the first struggle as a political party contesting elections. And you need to be resourceful. You don't have to be under-resourced to dominate media space. And again, another challenge is the youth that is not voting at all. Remember, in
the youth, they don't vote.
They don't vote at all because they have lost hope. They've been moving from one political party to the other, but they still live in slums. So another challenge is in 2019 general elections, over 6 million young people did not vote.
Yes.
And 13 million in general abstain from voting. So this is the biggest challenge. You find that where you are focusing as a political party to amass votes, the people in such areas do not go and vote because they've lost hope. No matter how hard you try to convince them, you are likely not to win because there are some people their thinking capacity has been tampered with by some parties because they shower them with alcohol, they shower them with food parcels, yes. So as an emerging political party, you are faced with a challenge. You can convince them in your rally, but when you think you are done, they come to you and ask, so what do you give us? This is how they've been treated. South Africa has got something that the world should know. As a young girl who has got a brighter future, you must know that should you get pregnant, the government is going to pay you for your pregnancy. I mean, for your child. You'll get that money every month. So when we go for elections, the ruling party will say to them, if you vote us out of power, you are going to forfeit all those benefits, including the elders. Elders, when you turn 60 in South Africa, you are getting, I don't know how much it is in Ugandan shillings, but you are getting like 1,800 rand. It's a lot of money, probably 200,000 Ugandan shillings every month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like 250,000.
Yes. So you are caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. You go this way, they tell you, what are you giving us? We need alcohol. We need food parcels. You go that way. No, if we vote for you, we are going to forfeit the benefits the government is giving us. They think when you assume power, you will do away with the benefits. This is why we are sitting at the highest rate of pregnancy amongst the
young girls,
among the young ones. I think I've spoken to you the other day, highlighting the biggest challenge we have in South Africa: teenage pregnancy, young girls from the age of 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. One province called KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa recorded over 20,000 young girls who got pregnant between the year 2020 and 2021. I do not want to talk about other provinces. So,
how many were they?
Over 20,000 between the age of 10 and 16.
Is that something of concern to the government?
Yeah, I don't think it is, because the government is benefiting out of that. When we go for elections, general elections next year, they know that if they are not voting ANC in power, they are likely to get the benefits forfeited.
Tell us about your health services in South Africa, because one time I was in Harare, and I saw many pregnant women getting onto the buses to cross and have their babies born in South Africa.
Yeah, I have a wealth of knowledge and experience in health department. I've worked in many clinics and hospitals. It's not a joke. What you are saying, I know you're not lying, and you cannot lie. You visit any local clinic in South Africa, you find more foreign nationals who are pregnant. And when I was working in one clinic in Limpopo province in 2010, I was on night duty. 5 pregnant ladies from the neighboring country, Zimbabwe, came with a van. I was like, why? No, we are ready to give birth. But I did not check you. Why are you saying you are ready? Who brought you actually? No, you know, the health system in our country is bad, and we have been advised that when we are about to deliver, we must come to South Africa. And as a healthcare worker, I mean, you should not discriminate against anyone. They have come, and you must help them. This is exactly what I've experienced. I've not heard it from anyone. So, and again, the government is benefiting out of this, because many of them obtain fraudulent IDs, and they are mandated to vote for them during elections. So now some parties in opposition benches of the parliament have adopted the same style the ruling party is utilizing. They are buying the voters' alcohol, groceries, some even fake the IDs, just to get the votes. So as a young party like POA, it is going to be extremely difficult, but we will see how best we can sail through. I know it's going to be difficult. Obviously, we are going to swim against the heavy current, but we will get there, since we are making a huge impact in rural parts of the country. We know we are under-resourced, but that cannot stop us. We are making impact. We are putting the government under pressure to provide services to the people. So it is extremely difficult to contest in South African elections, because it is the game of resources. If you have nothing, you are likely not to make it big. So this is why some will say the government is keeping more young people out of jobs, so that they can be given social grants. So they think that is okay. The government is taking care of us. What is employment? The biggest problem, I want to be honest with you, in the country right now is influx of foreign nationals who are not in the country illegally. This is what I said earlier on, that I mean, laws of the country must be respected. I can imagine if there was no law in Uganda, I come with whoever that I come with. You find out that I came with criminals. I mean, in every race, in every country, there are good people and there are bad people. And if you commit a mistake, so the mistake that you have committed can be generalized, because this one is your friend. Therefore, he is committing mistakes too, and it doesn't have to be that way. I believe that in my comprehensive analysis, the government is benefiting out of illegal immigration. This is the research that we have conducted, and we have arrived at the findings of that. Zimbabweans come in the country, they are our brothers and sisters. We cannot fight them under any circumstances. We must use law so that if you are in the country illegally, you must be detained and be told to come back with legal documents. So, but for people to commit xenophobic attacks is totally uncalled for and unbecoming. But in conclusion, I will say, every country has got its own challenges when it comes to elections. Vote rigging is the name of the game. It's a normal practice in South Africa. Resources, they defeat you with the resources. You can campaign the whole month. 2 months before elections will campaign. Others will just come 2 days before elections. They will give anyone they meet on the street 3 T-shirts, 4 T-shirts at a time. Big bags filled with food. And they will even give your family a lot of money just to make sure that they get the votes. So this is the biggest challenge that we are faced with. You need to be resourceful to be able to contest effectively for elections.
Well, thank you so much. Mr. Ocho, last week, the Parliament of Uganda passed the anti-homosexuality bill. And now it awaits Mr. President, Mr. Museveni Yoweri Kaguta, to append his signature to make it a law. Homosexuality is a global talk as we speak. Everywhere, countries, different countries and leaders, they are being put on the spotlight. Where do you fall as far as homosexuality is concerned? In Uganda, of course, we have a few individuals who have even threatened to go to court. People like Andrew Mwenda, he says if Mr. President appends his signature, he'll run to court to challenge. Fox Odoi, even previously, they ran to court. You remember this bill was first brought up by Bahati, David Bahati of Ndora Member of Parliament, Ndora East, I think. Then it was passed and then it was challenged. So are we here to see this? You're going to give us your legal perspective and then also give us your position as PPP as far as homosexuality is concerned.
Thank you, Chief. The history of laws, how laws came into being. Laws started as unwritten norms and practices in society. Those things that society kept on doing, and when you do, they know it is right or wrong. It is from that now we get into written laws and that countries respect and people and communities that subscribe to those countries respect. Now, talking about homosexuality as a topic, I don't know why it is this hot and it affects the whole world. But like I said, societies are governed by norms. Okay? We sit there and listen to the views of majority of Ugandans. You know, the world is talking about rights, you know, people's rights and respecting rights. And then as a country, what are our norms? Okay? What is our motto as a country? Recently, you know, while POA was in Uganda, they made a statement because a statement came from a party in South Africa to the effect that demonizing Ugandan MPs, that they were drunk on something. They shouldn't have passed that law. But as we aspire to have a good country, there must be cherished norms of the country that these laws come to reinforce. So when you ask me about homosexuality, we need to discuss homosexuality by understanding how it is introduced in Uganda. If you have what you are calling a right and you go into secondary schools, primary schools, okay, and you brainwash minors, you also know that the laws of our country puts the age of consent at 18. So when you go to primary schools and lower secondary schools and lure those
Learners.
children into homosexuality and promote it, okay? For me, if you ask me at a personal level, I would tell you that that is absolutely wrong. And also, if you come with me, you are homosexual and you are adopting children. Whose children are you adopting when you are choosing not
to have one?
Not to have one. Okay? So whose children are you adopting? Okay? So Africa, compared to the rest of the world, or let me come back to Uganda. For a political party like People's Progressive Party, we are not cast in stone. We are occupying the position we are occupying to provide what Ugandans ask of us. Parliament is a collection of representatives of people from every part of this country. And therefore, if Parliament, in their wisdom, collected the views of Ugandans and they said Uganda does not need this vice in the country, I think we must listen to them. But also, because I told you that People's Progressive Party is a party of dialogue, I think the most important debate now as a country should be, what should we have done that we have not done to allow homosexuality to penetrate our community? Or what can we do to prevent it? Because the thing has been there and it will come to us. You know, you mentioned Andrew Mwenda. Andrew Mwenda was posing a challenge to the rest of us and asking, is Parliament now going to put camera in everyone's bedroom to see which man is sleeping with another man? So I think the most important question for the country is that we need to have a conversation around which institutions can we empower. You know, we have the Interreligious Council in this country. Can we empower that institution to make sure no one brings that vice here? If we Ugandans say we don't want it, can we empower the Ministry of Education that is in charge of several millions of our children to mentor and groom a community of people that will say no to this vice? So, do we need to listen to homosexuals as a country before we decide? I'm also just posing questions, some of the things we can do. But overall, I am saying communities and Uganda as a whole is governed by agreeable norms. So if the majority, and we are in a democracy, remember in the beginning we say we are in a democratic dispensation. In law, there are rights that you cannot take away from people, and there are rights that the law allows you to take. You know, if in the wisdom of making Uganda a better place, the lawmakers saw that homosexuality is not something that people, if you take away from them, then you are killing them, you know. And if majority of Ugandans are saying, you know, wait a moment, this is not African. If I want to say this, that I think Africa shouldn't be following each and everything that happens in the world. At a certain point, as African people, we need to have that one thing that is left to identify an African. One thing that the African people will stand for and be counted. I know it's a very hot debate, but when you listen to world leaders threatening our president that in the event that he assents to this bill, then they cut aid, then we start to also ask, okay, are we receiving this assistance in quotes because we must do certain things in a certain way? They make it look so bad when the debate leaves our borders. You know, people calling for cutting of aid to Uganda because of you know, homosexuality, and the same people do not call for cutting of aid when a whole cabinet steals, you know, including the money they send. At least they are comfortable with people stealing everything meant for this country, including money meant for the sick. But you touch something about homosexuality. This makes us feel it's not necessarily a right, but it is something being promoted. So let's stick to governing our society according to norms, but also maybe to parliament. People who have been asking, is this the most pressing need of Uganda right now?
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Ocho. I think one key thing I've picked from your submission is that as Africa, we must have at least that single value that gives us an identity. That in everything, this is like this, but when it comes to this, for the Africans, this is their position. I like that. Well, my brother, Billy Nyaku, Karuhanga.
You got it right.
Yeah. Yes. I saw a document written by EFF trying to castigate Uganda for taking a decision to pass the homosexuality bill. And they ended that statement by saying, regardless of what, they will continue to associate with the homosexuals and the LGBTQI community as the EFF. Now, this is, of course, your rival parties in South Africa. That is their position. What is the POA position in regards to homosexuality?
Thank you very much for posing that question to me. I want to make sure that the hotline viewers comprehend what I'm going to say. Homosexuality is a misguided practice. This is our position as POA. The statement issued by EFF to say, Honorable President Yoweri Museveni must not sign the bill into operation should be regarded as illogical. It is crystal clear that EFF knows nothing about Ugandan politics. We have been following Ugandan politics and we know what is happening in this country. Homosexuality is not a practice that can be observed by everyone. So as Africans, we know that we have been introduced to certain practices by the Western nations. This is why our kids at school are being brainwashed. So we are paying the finest compliment to Jema's only MP in National Parliament, of course, for helping draft the bill. And again, we pay the finest compliment to all MPs that supported the bill to pass. I mean, it's a known fact. It is a known fact that there are so many organizations that are funding small groups in many different African countries to help push homosexuality in schools. It's happening, and many people are not aware. Somebody used to say there is war that is happening and people are not aware, and that war is devastating. You look at what we see on television screens, promotion of homosexuality at all times. Even if your child is not going to be part of, or let me say your child is not going to be a lesbian or a gay. I'm telling you, the manner in which your child is exposed to this homosexuality stuff at school, you may be surprised one day when they come home. In South Africa, something called polyandry.
A woman
is allowed to marry
more than one man.
Can you imagine a woman marrying two men? Religious groups actually repelled that. When it was in public consultation, then many groups in religious parts repelled that. You can see that our governments are pressurized to observe things that are not African. Now there is a high rate of homosexuality in many parts of Africa, and that is totally uncalled for. Unfortunately, some sitting presidents are allowing such activities to thrive. South African young kids are introduced to masturbation because Department of Education is radically teaching, it's radically introducing sex education to kids. They know how to masturbate. They know how to interact with the lesbians and gays at a younger age. I'm happy my fellow leader here mentioned something about brainwashing and something about, I think brainwashing. So they are brainwashed. I mean, if there is a law that is prohibiting practice of homosexuality from existing, then that law should be applauded. That law should be protected, defended. This is exactly what we need. So position of POA is very clear. EFF is hypocritical. So EFF should not actually poke its nose into Ugandan politics. So you do not blame what MPs in Uganda are doing. You're not the government anyway. So just it's either you praise or you keep quiet if Uganda is doing. Obviously the MPs are representing the majority of the voters. Yeah. So they are not there to represent themselves. It means when that bill was passed, they had consulted from the people who sent them to parliament. So they are not there for advancement of their own personal interest. So we love what the parliament has done, and where we are seated, we know for a fact that the president will sign the bill into practice. It is a fact. It is undeniable. We know it's going to happen. So we are Africans, and these things were not existing back then. They are only pushed onto us right now, and they threaten us with the cutting of the aid. I can give you an example about South Africa. There is no company that is manufacturing HIV treatment in South Africa, right? When America ordered South Africa around to import chickens that we have everywhere in the country, South Africa was like, no, we've got chickens. Why do we have to import the chickens? We have them. America did the same. We are going to pull off the aid. We are not going to supply you with HIV treatment or ARVs. Remember, South Africa has got the highest HIV rate in the world. And it is the most unequal society in the world. So South Africa had to chicken in. And that is totally uncalled for. Soma Sankara used to say, he who feeds you controls you. He who feeds you controls you. So they fund many activities of the government. So when the governments are not adhering to their orders, they threaten to pull off the aid. So it is high time that as Africans, we must look within our borders as to what can we do to sustain ourselves. Can I check on my neighbor? Can I go to Kenya because America is pulling the aid? So what do you have in Kenya? Let's sit down, let's dialogue, let's bring something on the table, or let's table this issue for discussion so that we can help one another. Africa is rich in mineral resources. So we must correct the mistakes that we have done in the past and focus entirely on what should be done to benefit every African country. The dream of Muammar Gaddafi should not die. We still have to have the military, relevant military that can encounter NATO. So we've got everything. But the fact is, I'm looking the other way, and you are looking the other way. Let us look into each other's eyes and see where you are going wrong. I must be able to say, these are my weaknesses, please help me. I must be able to identify your weaknesses. If I can't identify your weaknesses, so that I come to you and give you assistance. If we are neighbors and help each other, we can bring down the fence, because you are my neighbor, we have been getting along very well, and my children will come to your house even at night, and you protect them when they are in your house. The next thing they come to my house, yours come to my house. The next thing we share the food. The next thing we go to town together. Then there is no need to have a fence. This is how we can have borderless Africa.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Billy. I think as Africans, this is a big task on us, regardless of one's position. This time round, we need to hear one common voice from African people in regards to, let's say no to what should not be part of us. Let's not just copy each and everything, like Mr. Ocho says that we should have, we call them in media, we call them gatekeeping. We should be able to do our gatekeeping well. If I like things about Billy, I should take what is good for me. Something might be with you, but it's not good for me, but it's good for him. So let's be able to consume what is good for us as Africa and have respect and dignity for the black race. I love Mugabe. He used to be so bold on issues that used to affect Africans. His no would be a no today, tomorrow, and forever. He would say, that is wrong, that is wrong. And if he knew something is wrong, you could not convince him and make what he believes to be wrong and turn it into a right. So I think homosexuality, it's immoral, it's immorality, it's a mental problem, it's satanic. That's what I can say. Well, I need to get closing shots from each of you. I want to get one from you, Mr. Ocho, just give me your parting shot, and then I come to Mr. Billy Nyaku. He also gives me his closing shot, and then we call it a day.
Okay. First is to appreciate the hotline for hosting us. There are so many people who would want to be here, but today you decided that we should be here. But my shorting part is that there is hope. Let's not lose hope as African people, and let's embrace one another. Because the rest of the world has been able to divide Africa so much, then it is easy for them to infiltrate anywhere. So I believe there is a time to come that Africa will be speaking with one voice and acting together. That time will come. It may not come when we are living. It may not come so easily, but definitely it is certain as day follows night that it will come. And I look forward to that time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, Billy, I also want to have your last word.
Yeah, I'm honored to be part of the show. Clearly, Hotline should be praised. I believe all POA members will watch this show, and certainly they will send some gratitude. So I want to come back here as MP next year, and I will come here to celebrate our entry in Parliament. That is a fact. I do not want to forget where I come from. No, not home. I'll be telling them in South Africa that I do not want to forget where I come from, because you have accepted me and my party that does not have representation in Parliament, the party that is contesting elections for the first time. You are not undermining our existence in South African politics. You are showing us some love, brotherly love or sisterly love, but I will conclude by saying homosexuality is a pure satanism. So we will never embrace anything that comes with homosexuality. Thank you, Uganda, for taking that stance.
Well, thank you so much. I also want to thank my panelists for creating time out of their busy schedules to be part of the hotline tonight. And of course, our viewers, we thank you. Sorry I've not been able to go through your comments, but let's keep the conversation flowing on our social media platforms. And of course, I thank you all for being part of the show. The team I have worked with, Roger and in the control room, thank you so much for putting this together. And of course, this brings us to the end of tonight's Hotline Show. My name is Abdallah Latif. Until next week again on Monday, I wish you a great night.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.